We did deploy EMO down there along with the Red Cross, along with Ontario Health and Public Health. It's all hands on deck down there.
Boots on the ground in Windsor-Essex. We'll bring you the latest on how the province is trying to deal with the high number of COVID-19 cases in the agri-food sector, days after a local farm saw nearly 200 workers test positive. The heat wave continues. 33 degrees right now, feeling like 40 with the humidex. There is a chance of showers tonight, but that sun and heat will continue into the weekend. Nick Cernkovich will bring us the full forecast later tonight. I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for watching. Chris is away. The province has deployed Emergency Management Ontario to Windsor-Essex. It's to assist with the ongoing COVID-19 crisis in the agriculture sector. The CBC's Jason Vio joins us live now with more. Jason, what exactly will this team be doing?
Well, here's what we know so far, Katerina. We know that 2 supervisors with Emergency Management Ontario are on the ground here in Windsor-Essex trying to deal with what some have labeled already and for some time now a crisis. And this type of response only happens when there's an urgent need for collaboration and some sort of large-scale response to a crisis like this. And we're told they're taking a leadership role on this on a number of fronts, and they're working with the Canadian Red Cross as well. And the province said today quite clearly that all hands are on deck trying to get this thing under control.
The team is providing support for the workers from the one farm where there was the notable number of positive COVID findings. Make sure that the workers have the best care, the best housing, the best accommodation, food, and support.
You heard him there say that one farm with a notable number of cases. We were able to confirm yesterday that is in fact Nature Fresh Farms in Leamington with 191 people there, workers, testing positive for COVID-19. And that prompted the health unit to issue an order at that facility prohibiting those workers from being at work to do the jobs that they're there to do until further notice. So in the meantime, they're in hotels, also on site in housing there, isolating, and he says that they're going to be monitored very closely.
So Jason, yesterday we heard the Ontario Greenhouse Vegetable Growers Organization say that it wants a replacement workforce for Nature Fresh. And yesterday the health unit had said that contract workers aren't allowed at this point in time. So what exactly is allowed?
Well, he says the main objective from that initial order was to remove and protect the workers at Nature Fresh. So that, he says, has been accomplished. But in terms of what's next, he wasn't clear today. And we asked him if it was allowed, if people are allowed to go into that workplace to fill the void, essentially. Have a listen to what he had to say today.
Answer this question by saying that under the order, the focus was to remove the worker that are currently working. So that objective is achieved. And rest of the conversation will be ongoing, and we'll figure out a best way to keep the workers safe and also keep the community safe.
And Jason, you also spoke with a large farming operation today. How are they reacting to all of this?
That's right. We spoke with Mucci Farms in Kingsville. They have a number of different facilities in that municipality. And just last week, they were able to test 300 workers as a part of the on-site testing at their facility. But they have a workforce on-site of more than 900. So that means roughly 2/3 didn't participate in that round of testing last week. And as we know, we've been talking about this a lot. The reason why this is spreading so rapidly in the agriculture sector is because of the close quarters in which they live, the bunk housing. So at Mucci Farms, for example, they have 24 people, he says, to each 3,000 square foot bunkhouse, 12 people to each room. And he adds that their bunkhouses are bigger than what the federal regulations require, and that those regulations are something that he expects will change.
We've put a pause on all of our new builds. So none of our current bunkhouses that are under construction or any plans that we had to build new ones, everything is on hold right now because we know there's going to be new legislation, because obviously a change is necessary. There's no secret that the current living environment is it's to standard, it's to legal standard, but obviously we're realizing that for something of this magnitude, it's probably not the most effective situation.
And lastly, Jason, what are the provincial and federal governments saying today?
Well, we did request interviews with the Canadian Red Cross and Emergency Management Ontario. They weren't able to facilitate that for us today, but we did hear back from the Federal Health Minister, Patty Hajdu, her office today. And you'll remember a week or two ago, local officials and health officials had kind of a teleconference with the health minister where we're told she promised some sort of federal strategy to help deal with this crisis. So have a look at what a spokesperson with the minister's office said today to CBC News. In it, we recognize there is more to do to protect temporary foreign workers in Canada, and we are committed to looking at additional steps we can take in order to do so. However, they didn't specify what those additional steps might look like or any timelines attached to what they're working on. Katarina.
Thanks, Jason. The CBC's Jason Vio reporting live. The Conservative Member of Parliament for Chatham-Kent and Leamington, Dave Epp, is speaking out about the crisis in the agri-food sector. And he's pointing to the use of undocumented workers as playing a key role in the spread of COVID-19. He joins us now by Skype. Mr. Epp, let's start by asking you why you believe undocumented workers are the reason for the cases that we're seeing.
Well, let's begin with what my primary concern here is representing this area is the fact that Leamington and Kingsville have been left behind. We're stuck in stage one. And certainly that is because of the outbreak, the COVID outbreak into our agricultural community. Undocumented workers, particularly with their use through labor contractors, they have been one of the sources one of the vectors that's brought the virus into the community, into the migrant community. And so that is my concern.
So I guess my question to you is why specifically this group of workers compared to, some of the other things that have been pointed out as reasons like the housing conditions, working conditions? Why are you singling them out?
So a couple of responses. The temporary foreign worker community were brought in, were quarantined, and to my knowledge, there were absolutely no cases of COVID brought in. There's protocols under the temporary foreign worker program, under the seasonal ag worker program. There's oversight to the program. There's housing inspections, all of that. However, there's also been use of labor contractors in the industry. There's some good ones out there, but there are also those that are less than scrupulous that are using sources of labor, some of them being undocumented, and they would come from various sources, but they've not gone through the 14-day quarantine process. They've not had the same oversight in housing conditions. They don't have the same access to health care, and that needs to change. There's a gap that the pandemic's exposed. You mentioned other issues, longer-term issues, just like our long-term healthcare system. The pandemic has exposed weaknesses, and that's something that we will look at in the longer term. But for now, to bring Leamington and Kingsville out of stage one, we need to get our hands wrapped around the pandemic, get it tested, traced, treated, isolated, and largely, the vector has come through the undocumented sector, undocumented workers.
Now, we've heard from local leaders here that somebody needs to take charge of what is described as a crisis in the sector, and the temporary foreign worker program is a federal one. So as a federal representative, what exactly are you doing to try and find a solution?
Absolutely. So I have spoken out this weekend, but I have been very, very active since the outbreak of the pandemic, and you can just go to my website where it's documented. Yes, one of the challenges has been the overlapping jurisdictions. There's a role for the municipality, a role for the province, a role for the federal government. It's a federal government program, the temporary foreign workers. However, a lot of labor issues become provincial. And that's the tricky part here. It's actually the province of British Columbia that has faced this and has put in a program that puts some responsibility back onto the labor contractors. There's an accreditation process, and that's what I'm calling for. But I have to be careful. That's outside of my federal jurisdiction. Health and all of the health concerns are largely provincial jurisdictions. So I need to be respectful of those jurisdictions and contribute to where I can. And obviously, I'm very, very engaged in moving our community forward and being responsible for the areas that do fall under federal jurisdiction.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time. Dave Epp is the MP for Chatham-Kent and Leamington. An advocacy group is working on its first documentary about what it's like to be Black in Windsor-Essex. The documentary aims to help the public understand the racism and prejudices that Black people continue to face by showcasing local and personal stories. We had a chance to speak with some of the people involved with the documentary before filming begins later this month.
You're going to see somebody in this video. You're from Windsor. The people you see in this video will be your neighbor, will be somebody that you actually care about, so that you can actually see it through their eyes and understand. Hopefully there'll be people who realize things and they want to join the movement and make change for everybody, so that everybody can be actually seen as equal. And one day we won't have to just say Black Lives Matter. It will be All Lives Matter.
I'm full Black African, you know, like kinky hair and everything. And then when I go to the Black kids, oh, you hang out with the white kids now. You're in drama. You like to dance ballet. This is a white people stuff. And so I was kind of like a twinner, and I didn't really know which one was my group and which group to really belong to. It's really hard to come up in this society, just as a Black artist as well. Sometimes we really do get overlooked, just because we don't have the look, or, you know, sometimes I end up being the one Black girl in the dance group.
And once again, the organization behind this documentary is called Black Women of Forward Action. They say anyone can help with the making of the film by volunteering or donating. And you can read much more about the doc on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. There's some extreme heat in the forecast for the upcoming days, particularly peaking on Monday. The temperatures are supposed to climb above 30 over the weekend and stay high for the foreseeable future. So people will be looking for places to cool down, but unfortunately, the city of Windsor will not be reopening the splash pads and the beach in time for that heat, but the city says it's working on it. Jacob Barker is at Sandpoint Beach now and joins us live. Jacob, describe what's happening there right now.
Yeah, Kat, it is hot out already, I can tell you that much. And I was down here earlier today, and it's not exactly high-grade security system that they have down here to keep people off the beach. You can see I saw a lot of people coming in and out of the fence here. Somebody sort of propped it open. And if you want to see what a closed beach looks like, well, look no further than the next beach down. There's a lot of people out enjoying what is not supposed to be used right now, but they do look like they're having a good time. And I gotta say, it is a little bit confusing, this part of the beach, because just beside that there is parkland that's open, and people are enjoying that space, and just down from that there's another sandy spot, and people are out enjoying that as well. And I did take a chance, I did take the opportunity to speak to people on this side of the fence about how they feel about the beaches opening back up eventually.
So people have come here because the other beach, the main beach, there's no lifeguards and they have the fences up for COVID. So if the bylaw officers come by, people do leave. But in between, there's still people that kind of get in and try to beat the heat, especially people around here who don't have air conditioning.
They closed Colchester, they closed Bell River, and the reason they closed those is because people aren't listening. So if you can't go by the pool, and if you don't have a pool and you can't go by the beach, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people.
When they open up, let's do it right this time as a community, as people. Let's do right for ourselves, and then we will now have more at our disposal.
Yeah, so one thing to note, Kat, is that there is not E. coli testing happening. The health unit usually does E. coli testing in the waters because of staffing issues, because of COVID-19. They're not going to be able to do that this year, but at least for this, as far as the city of Windsor goes, they do say that they've hired an independent contractor to take care of that testing. So as far as that goes, you are going to be safe when you're in the water here, at least as far as that goes.
Now, Jacob, the city will be opening up another amenity for people to cool down. So tell us what's happening with splash pads.
Yeah, so there are 7 of 9 splash pads that are going to be opening back up. Not in time for this heat wave. That opening is going to happen on July 13th. But there will be fencing put up, so they will look a little bit different, controlling how many people will get in. And there will be staff there to make sure people are properly socially distancing at those splash pads. The work is being done on the pads now, and it will be looked over by an inspector before they're opened.
So we want to make sure that people, when they're on the spray pad, are able to keep good physical distancing. And again, we're using the 2 meter or 6 foot kind of suggestion that's in place. Because the spray pads are generally in parks and people often will congregate on them coming from different areas in the parks, we want to make sure there's some sort of controlled access so that the numbers that are on the spray pad are able to be as effectively managed as possible.
This beach remains quote unquote closed for now. There are facilities that are open in neighboring communities. I checked in with Chatham-Kent, and their beaches have actually been open there since June the 5th. So if you do want to find a beach, you can go for a little bit of a drive and find one. And if you are worried about getting in the water, well, the health unit says that the risk of transmission through recreational water is low, but of course they are telling people to keep in mind social distancing, not to gather in groups of 10, and of course take care of your hands and have proper hand hygiene. Kat.
Thanks, Jacob. The CBC's Jacob Barker live at Sandpoint Beach. A devastating house fire in a suburb of Toronto has left a family homeless. But it could have been far more tragic if it wasn't for the efforts of a special neighbor, a 5-year-old rescue dog. Linda Ward.
A neighbor caught these images on camera at the height of the blaze. As the flames inched closer to neighboring homes, it was this furry, fire-sniffing pooch who sounded the alarm.
Shortly after 2 o'clock this morning, I heard our dog Georgia getting up and going out onto the landing, which was unusual for her. I thought, oh, something's up. She stopped halfway down the stairs and sort of looked at the window, and I followed her gaze and went, oh my God, there's a fire.
He called 911. York Regional Police arrived and found the house completely engulfed in flames.
When officers got here, they learned that the family was still inside of the home. Officers rushed inside of the burning building and located 4 people and a family dog inside the house still.
Wearing only their police uniforms, they rescued a father and daughter who couldn't get out on their own.
2 people were in wheelchairs, so officers actually picked them up and carried them out of the home.
If Georgia hadn't woken me up, yes, we probably would have lost a minute or 2.
The damage is obviously very significant, so it is amazing that no one was harmed seriously.
All 4, as well as a police officer, were taken to hospital for smoke inhalation. 3 other officers were treated at the scene. The fire marshal is now trying to figure out how it started. The home is likely a total loss. This family got away with their lives, but not much else. And police are hopeful that now this community will rally around this family to help get them through this next challenge. Linda Ward, CBC News, Thornhill.
Another live look at our city. A hot day today, and we've got more hot days to look forward to ahead. Nick Sternkovich will bring us the weather right after this break. No, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. You are indeed looking at players and coaches with the Detroit Tigers returning to Comerica Park for a workout earlier this morning. Because of COVID-19, the Tigers and the rest of Major League Baseball, they're set to play a shortened 60-game schedule starting July 23rd. As for the Toronto Blue Jays, they begin training at Rogers Centre this weekend. Nick Sirkovich joins us now for our full forecast. You know, Nick, speaking of workouts, I try to run outside, but these days I'm dodging the sun. It's just too hot for me.
Yeah, I know. Even in the shade, there's no relief at this point. Well, it's the humidity as well. It's not just the heat, but it's the humidity that gets you. And really no relief in the forecast. I'll tell you right off the bat, looking forward to the next 2 weeks, I don't think we're going to see a day below 30 at least until mid-July, and then we'll have to see after that. Heat wave continues. That's actually one of our headlines here right now. There is a heat warning in effect for Windsor and surrounding areas. Prolonged heat wave. Lots of sunshine, though. I guess that's a positive in all of this, although we could use a little bit of rain as well. I'm going to put it in perspective. Now, 27.4 degrees, that's the average daytime high for this day. 32.8 is what we hit, and if you look at our overnight lows as well, we're well above the average overnight low for this time of year. As I mentioned, there are heat warnings in effect across the region. There's temperatures hit the 30s, actually in excess of the 30s, Humidex values in excess of 40 at times. Right now we're looking at 32 degrees in Windsor, 32 in Chatham as well. When you factor in the humidity though, it feels closer to about 40 in Windsor right now, 40 in Chatham as well, 40 in London. That's a look at our Humidex values, and that's basically here to stay. Not much to speak of in terms of rainfall. We've seen a few showers popping up through the afternoon. Really not seeing that for the most part in most areas. There's a slight chance we're going to see a pop-up shower toward the next couple of hours in the evening, but other than that, it's really dry weather until we hit next week. By tomorrow morning, look for sunshine. Same story into the afternoon as well, and right through the weekend. So we've got a very sunny weekend in store, and some very hot weather in store as well. Overnight forecast tonight down to 21 degrees. With the Humidex, it's still going to feel like about 25, 26. Tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at highs of about 32 degrees across the region. With the humidity, though, feels like 36. Now, just to give you a bit of an explanation as to why, today we had Humidex values around 40, even though the temperature was 32. Tomorrow, we're getting a bit of a northerly breeze, and that's actually going to bring a bit of a reprieve from the humidity. It's not going to last for long, though, but at least for tomorrow anyway, we can see a bit of a drop in that Humidex. So 32 tomorrow, Humidex of 36. As we head through Sunday, though, 34 degrees. We're also looking at the humidity rising once again as winds begin to shift out of the southwest. 35 degrees on Monday, Humidex values in excess of 40. And then it looks like as we head toward Wednesday, we might get a little bit of relief with some rainfall or rain showers, thunder showers on Wednesday afternoon. But that's really about it. And as I mentioned off the top, I don't think we're going to see a day below 30, probably until mid-July.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah, just looking at that forecast, all I can think is, holy smokes, 30s, 30s, 30s. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it, Nick.
All right. And stay high.
And when we come back, we'll bring you an update on yesterday's security breach at Rideau Hall. Now, as we learn more about the individual involved. RCMP say the Manitoba man who breached security at Rideau Hall was heavily armed. They say he had several weapons and was near the home of the Prime Minister for 13 minutes before police reached him.
I can confirm that immediate measures have been put in place to increase security following yesterday's events. We will be conducting an after-action review, as well as further analysis on the overall security posture and technology that we have in place.
Corey Huron is facing several charges. In a brief proceeding today, his case was put over until July 17th, and he remains in custody. Police say Huron rammed his truck through the gates of Rideau Hall early yesterday morning and then abandoned the damaged vehicle. He made his way through the grounds with at least one gun before being approached by officers. CBC News has learned there was a note, and RCMP say they know the suspect's motive, but won't discuss it. Officers negotiated with Huron for more than 90 minutes, and he was arrested without incident. Huron was not known to police. He's a member of the Canadian Rangers, a component of the Canadian Army Reserve. Neither Justin Trudeau and his family nor the Governor General were on the grounds at the time. It is 6:29 p.m. That is it for CBC Windsor News. We'll leave you with another look at Sandpoint Beach. Closed to the public until August, though you might be able to hit up a local splash pad. Before that, they should be opening up on July 13th. So unfortunately, you'll have to find relief from the heat in other ways. Drink lots of water and stay in the shade if you can. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Power and Politics is up next. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend.